you good with this? Are you excited about this?
Absolutely. I will talk about anything. Let's do this.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Truth Be Told, where honestly, it's in the name. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is your boy, Sean Spencer, one half of that dynamic duo that is Let's Talk Football, and it is a Monday night, so you know I'm here with my guy, Mr. I Want the Smoke, Nicholas Rosario. What up, Nick?
Hey, good evening, Sean. Good evening, everyone. It is Monday, and I'm here, and Sean's here, and we're hoping that you're here as well, because for the next however long, we're going to talk about, I think, something that's truly important, I think, to everyone or that everybody deals with. So, Sean, hit him with it. What are we talking about this week?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. On the 4th episode of Truth Be Told, we're going to hit something that could be very touchy for some people, and people might define it in a different way. But let's go into it. Fears, ladies and gentlemen. We're touching down into our fears. What are you afraid of? And we're not just going to do just a general definition. We're going to hit every aspect of our lives. What is it that really kind of unsettles us, makes us uncomfortable, and then at the same time, maybe kind of rocks the boat, if you know what I mean, Mr. Nicholas Rosario?
Yes, for sure. I'm with you. Let's rock it, baby. Let's do it.
Absolutely, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for being here. Hope you're not afraid. Don't be afraid. Enjoy the conversation. Get in the comments and talk to us, because we're hitting you with some of the good stuff, man. Let's start right in. Everyday fear, Nick. I mean, let's starting off with this topic. Like, what is it? Something that might be small, might be big, something that every day that can get to you. Talk to me.
Okay. And this is 100%. So people, you can feel free to laugh if you want to, but you guys know I'm kind of a chubby guy, and I have to be very careful that I don't fall. Every day I have a fear of falling, only because, the littlest thing sometimes will trip you up.
Yep.
And you have to understand, I'm not even. I'm uneven. You know what I'm saying? Like, because of my weight, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I get leaning in one direction, even a centimeter, I'm going down. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to be able to catch myself or be able to, reverse the course, as it were, and save myself. So if I start tipping, I just go with it, which has happened, of course, many a time where I'm like, yeah, I just got to go down. I'm moving. I can't stop this. And so it's a small one. It's not, somebody like, but it is a little bit of a fear, because like there was one time, and it's not that it was scary, but it was just, I was with my niece Deja, and I was walking her back to her house, and there was ice on the sidewalk, and I fell in front of her. Now, poor Deja was probably 8 or 9 years old, so she couldn't help me. And I couldn't get, I couldn't get my footing on the ice. Like, I couldn't get up, literally.
Yeah.
My niece had to flag some dude down to literally come and help me, just to brace myself so I could get up. So it sounds silly, but it definitely is a little bit of a fear, because again, I never know. Like, if I do fall, do I have something near me that I can grab to get myself up? Because that's the other thing too. If I do fall, I need something to help me grip so I can get the weight up. I can't just pop up like, jump like a jump thing. I can't just do that. So that's definitely one for me. Like, that's definitely an everyday kind of, like, I try to watch where I'm going. I don't walk too fast. Like, I get where I'm going, but I kind of make sure I put one foot in front of the other. Make sure my shoes are tied or stuff like that. Or I try to avoid bumps on the sidewalk. I try to do all that. Because believe me, if I go down, I'm going down. It's just the way it is. So that's definitely one. That's one. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I absolutely get that. I absolutely get that. In fact, whenever I used to trip, I used to get up and then reenact the trip, just so it would kind of take a little bit of the, attention and the pressure off me. But I mean, you can sometimes it just happens, man. Sometimes it's just a trip of the feet. What's going on to the people in the comments? Johnny saying first, and Anthony saying yo. Welcome to Truth Be Told, and we are talking about we're talking about fears right now. We're hitting our everyday fears, and look, you see the color of my skin. You see who I am. I am not, quiet. I'm a loud, energetic black man. So one of my fears, and a fear that definitely rocks the mind of my community, especially the males, is getting pulled over. I mean, you gotta be completely honest with that. Ever since I got my license, I realized that it's a whole different battle out there. And it's funny because we'll be driving and I can look at my rear view and 20, 30, 40 yards away, I can see a cop. And it could be undercover, it could be whatever. And I'll say it, I'll call it out. Like the cat will be driving, there's a cop. She's like, "What are you talking about?" So we'll see it drive by and I'll say, "Yeah." And it's something that is so ingrained in me and so natural. And there's nothing in my mind like getting pulled over, seeing the light flash, especially at night, seeing the light flash on you. And then you just don't know what the next couple seconds, minutes will be like. It's just what it is. Like, this isn't a racial, it is what it is. Like that fear rocks me every time I turn on the engine, start the car, and get going. I'm looking behind me just as much as I'm looking in front of me. So that's and I don't necessarily think that's just African Americans. I know you being a Latino American, that's something. I mean, cops and all that stuff are things on your mind, but I mean, for anybody driving and just getting pulled over for whatever reason. And then just try, because immediately you get nervous. So then all of a sudden, I don't want. Oh my God, why are you nervous? What's wrong with you? Know what I mean? And I'm just like, my hands are on the wheel. I got my wallet in hand. Like I leave nothing for chance. It is just it's just the way it is with me, man. You know?
No. I again, and I got to be honest when I say I didn't. Again, truth be told, I haven't really had to deal with that, and I don't. In a way, I want to say that sucks for you, man. Like 100% that you have to feel like that, because I know that does happen. Like I'm not ignorant to that fact, and I think, especially and again, you date. I mean, you're engaged to a white woman, and so a black man
with a white woman can look a little suspect. Don't get ahead of us.
No, I'm just saying though. I mean, that could look suspect to some people. Like, here's a black guy driving around a white woman. Like, you don't know what people are thinking in their head, regardless of what, they don't know or what they think the situation is. You just don't know. And unfortunately, that's the way the world is. And, so I'm just saying it sucks for you, buddy. That's one that, it's unfortunate that you have to deal with that or even think about that when you go out. You know what I'm saying? When you go out just to, go drive to the store or whatever. Like that's I just think that's horrible. But I got you. That's definitely an everyday fear, Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, hey, look, I'm just gonna go ahead and go give my number 2 real quick. You alluded to it again, not to go back to race and color of the skin, but that is a fact. I am with a Caucasian female. Most of her family lives in West Virginia, and everybody's cordial and kind, but I'm not naive to the fact that, when the doors close and I'm not in earshot, that, what I mean? Somebody gonna say something. That's just the natural. That's natural, and everything. And the major fear when it comes to our situation and me and Kat, more to me is travel. I love driving. I'm a huge fan of driving up and down the road. 6, 7, 8+ hours is nothing to me. It's natural. But there are times like we got in a huge argument because she said she wanted to go to Sarasota and she wanted to drive. And all I could think is, dude, from a certain point, I'm not pulling over. You know what I mean? If there's not bright lights circling all around, and even in those situations, I might not be safe. You know what I mean? So, because like you said, there are some people out there that just, for whatever reason, and I'm not even talking these KKK super racists. I'm talking normal people that will be as kind as possible and as nice as possible any other day. Some people just are not for the dating between the races.
The mixing of races. Right, exactly. Correct. Yeah.
And me, 100%. If we're driving or we're going places and we appear happy and all that, some people take that as offense. They take that as you're throwing that in our face. We don't want to see that.
Right.
So it's again, I'd be naive not to have a fear of that. But ever since I was raised kind of with my parents saying, hey, we are in a nice community. You're going to be playing with kids of all different, persuasions, all different nationalities. And they taught me what to look for and how to do things the right way. But at the same time, there was the inevitability, and they let me know sometimes you're not even gonna get a chance because of that. So when you see you in that already and happy in everything as we are, people aren't the happiest with that all the time.
Right. No, that's correct. Yeah. So true that. Yeah, I think just to name a second one, like I said, it's kind of an everyday thing. And I know this is going to speak a little bit more to the health, because like I said, being an overweight man, I recently turned, as I've told people before, I recently turned 50, and I still haven't, lost on my weight. I'm in a program, as I've told a lot of people, but I think I have a healthy fear that something could go wrong at any moment, whether it be just, not to wish this into existence, but anything, a mini stroke, a slight heart, anything like just, it's in the back of my mind. I don't try to focus on it. Obviously, it's not something I get up and go about my day and try to do the best I can, with everything that I do. Like I go to work, I always get up, go to work, make sure I do that. I help with whatever I can. But, sometimes in the back of your mind, that thought comes up like, man, I'm so grateful that at this point I get up every day and nothing has happened.
Right.
But there's still a small part of that fears that, like, something's going to happen, whether I just fall out for whatever reason, or if, I start to feel lightheaded, or I start to feel something, that's a healthy fear. Again, not having lost all this weight yet, that's definitely something, like I said, that is there. But again, I try not to focus on it. I try to go about my business and have a normal, live my normal life like you would. But definitely something that pops into my head every now and again, for sure, being an overweight guy. So yeah, that's definitely there.
Oh, absolutely. And let's get to some of these comments. Anthony's saying everyday fears is Oklahoma drivers. Yeah. And the DMV, which is DC, Maryland, and Virginia, those cops, they're no joke. Yeah. So yeah. Johnny's fear passing and not being able to take care of my wife after I'm gone is my worst fear. And yeah, we're gonna talk about that.
We're gonna get into some of that stuff. Yeah, Johnny, I got you, brother. Hey, we're there with you, pal. Yeah.
But this is actually a nice question that kind of leans into that. Johnny said, "How have your fears changed as you've gotten older?"
Okay, that's a very good question, Johnny. And I could say one, I suppose. Like when you're younger, you feel invincible, regardless of what's going on in your life. You really don't feel like anything could happen to you. You know what I mean? When you're 20 something, whatever, 20s, even in your 30s stuff, you're planning for everything. You never think that something bad could happen, right? Like that's just a thing. You're like, I'm invincible. I'm doing my thing. I'm doing this and this and that. But I think again, to your point, with as I've gotten older and being this way and being, the fear of, I'll just say death. And I don't want to say like a fear. I mean, not to be morbid, but we all know that at some point we will no longer be on this earth. But it's not something I really truly thought about.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's not something I just went about my life. You'd hear about other people and go, man, that's a shame. But you never think, well, that's me. That's going to be, that's going to be me. I'm next or whatever. And that's the whole thing, man. Like, so that's as I said, as I gotten older, I've thought about it a little bit more. Again, like I told you, I don't try to focus on it, but it's there in the back of my mind. Like, man, this would be a horrible way to go out before getting the opportunity to shed this weight and to, do some other things I want to do. So yeah, definitely the fear changed a lot as I got older. I mean, grateful to be where I'm at. I've hit 50. A lot of people don't. And so the fact that I'm still here and still able to do the things I like to do, that encourages me to get up every morning, go to work, do my thing, and not try to focus too much on that. Just keep working, the program I'm in, and hopefully that'll all work out fine. And, by next year, you'll see a different Nick. So, but yeah, definitely the fears have changed as I've gotten older. And again, we're going to get into that a little bit in the next segment. So I don't want to give too much away because I do want to talk about something else. But yeah, that's definitely one of them.
Yeah, and I to that question, Johnny, which was how have your fears changed since you've gotten older? Honestly, for me, I know when I was younger, it was immediate. It was if I don't, am I going to get this right now? Am I going to win right now? Am I going to get in trouble by this right now? It was some things that happened immediately. Like the fears, like what's around this corner? It was immediate. Now that I've gotten older, it's a lot of long term, which we're going to get into, and I'm not trying to get too far ahead, but it is more of repercussions of what happens day to day. Like you said, you feel invincible when you were younger. I didn't think about next week, next month, next year. Now I can't stop. I can't help but think about next month, the next week, next year, whatever, because, and going to perfect segue, long-term fears, as you get older, you've seen more. You've lived longer. I'll be 40 this year. We talked about you're 50. Yeah. There's a lot more that has happened to you and around you. So it's easier to see and say, oh, well, this might happen. All right, look at, I dodged that bullet, but I'm still not out of the woods yet. So going into long-term fears, Nick, and let me hit this real quick. Johnny said, Nick, you don't have to be overweight. You don't have to be overweight to have that fear, bro. A couple years ago, I slipped on ice and broke a hip, dislocated my shoulder, was stuck outside, unable to get anyone to respond to me. My dog actually helped get me into the house. That was Johnny.
Yeah. So for sure. No, I mean, I get 100%. That's definitely a scary thing, man. Trust me.
Oh yeah. But as far as long term, obviously it's that fear of getting older. I think for me, the biggest fear is kind of, I think it's easy to say this, but your family. You know what I mean? I think that's one of the things that's gotten a lot scarier for me is on top of me feeling like I was invincible, I thought my parents, my grandparents, all my relatives were invincible. Nothing could go wrong with them. And I didn't think they did wrong. And as you get older, you start to understand that they are more human than anything else, which means also that they are susceptible to injury. They are susceptible to getting sick. They are susceptible to making mistakes or even going through bouts of depression. And that fear, I think for me, is just a lot greater just because of the fact that honestly, my long-term fear joining that is the helplessness of not being able to do anything. In my situation of my father, my mother getting older, my grandparents getting older, situations where I can't be there to save it. I can't be there to change whatever outcome is coming. That to me terrifies me because I don't know that I do know that I'm not. I do know that I'm not ready for after that. And that scares the crap out of me. What about you, Nick?
Yeah, well, I mean, to kind of tie into that, I've been very lucky so far. Again, being a 50-year-old man to have both my parents and a set of grandparents still alive. My grandparents are 86 and 82. My dad turned 70 this year. Mom just hit 68 in May. And obviously, I've talked about my mom and the liver transplant. So believe me, I've had a little scare in the last year and a half about possibly losing a parent. But that's a long-term fear too, because again, when you're younger, you don't think of that. Like you said, your parents are who they are. They're invincible. You're going to be around forever. You're going to this and that. And then as you get older, you're like, man, you talk to other people, your friends lose their parents, which I've had. Many of my friends have lost at least one parent. A lot of the people I know, unfortunately, and so that's it. I feel very lucky in that regard. But that's definitely, I have to piggyback off of you with that. Like it is definitely a long-term fear, but I think one of the biggest ones for me, and this is a little more personal, as it were, in terms of just I have a long-term fear of being alone.
Mm-hmm.
Like not, and when I say that, yes, I have my family. Like as far, there are plenty of family members who are younger than I am. So I'm anticipating that if the things go in the natural order, they'll be around for a while. So I don't mean alone in that way. I mean alone with a significant other in terms of not ever finding the right person or the person for me to spend my time with. I've already probably conceded the fact that I'll never have children. Or that, at this age, I don't know that I want to have children and be that much older than the children I have.
Yeah.
And so that was a fear too. Like, you know what I mean? And so the fear of just, I think, growing older alone is definitely one that sticks with me. And again, it's just, for whatever reason, none of my relationships worked out. Nothing has panned out, as it were. I've obviously met enough women in my life in that sense, or whatever, the stories, some of them. So I just think it's, but something I definitely struggle with and hope that, there is somebody out there for the old Nick man, to spend some time with, have a little fun. I can be a fun guy, I'm just saying. But no, it's definitely a healthy fear, and a long-term one for sure, because again, by God's grace, if I live to 75, 80, I think I would hate too for my nieces or anybody else to feel like they have to take care of me. Not that they would, but again, you got a 75, 80-year-old uncle who's just around by himself with nobody else, to take care of him. You might feel obligated to do something with him. You know what I mean? And it's like, I don't think I want that for them. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want them to feel like that or feel that way. You know what I mean? I should, So that's just a long-term fear, is definitely that as well, is just growing old alone.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, I feel that, bro. I feel that, and I know it's weird to hear me say that, and I've been in a relationship for, with Kat for almost a decade. But I mean, piggybacking on that, I have this fear that, what I'm of making the wrong decision. When you get to that place where you have that. Am I doing it right? Is this the way that it was supposed to be? Am I on the path doing the right, following a line that was meant for me? You know what I mean? Or am I completely off on a different, you know what I mean? That's the thing that gets me. And the thing about it, so I was raised up in a church, so I'm well versed in the Bible and all that stuff. One of the stories in the Bible is the story of Jonah. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Oh, Jonah and the whale, baby. I know it well.
Yeah. So my son is actually named Jonah. You know what I mean? So it's a weird play on that, but essentially in the story, for those of you that don't know, Jonah's a prophet. One night God spoke to him and said, I need you to go to Nineveh, and these people are doing wrong by me. I need you to tell them to change their ways, or I will destroy the city. Well, Jonah was like, they ain't gonna listen to me. I'm not going over there. So Jonah chartered a boat, got on a boat to Tarshish, which is in the other direction. Long story short, crazy storm. God sent the crazy storm. Jonah gets thrown off of the boat, and the story is a whale. In the Bible, it says a great fish got him. Great fish. Yeah. He was in his belly for 3 days, and then eventually the fish spit him out. But I've always, and ever since, my son was born and his name was Jonah, and I've always kind of been told to be, long story short, there's a lot of people in my family and in my life that seem to think that my path is to the pulpit, to be a preacher.
Oh, okay.
That's another story for another day, but there's a lot of people that think that in that direction. And what fascinates me about the story of Jonah is the fact that eventually he came back, but it was more real. It was more real because he came back. He told them, change your ways. They ended up doing that. Yeah. And then he ends up, the story doesn't end there because he ends up watching and thinking, okay, God's going to destroy them. And then God does it. And then Jonah starts getting ticked off. Like, hold up, man, you got me all the way out here. I told you this wasn't. That's one of my fears, is that I follow what I think I'm supposed to follow. I do what I think I'm supposed to do, or what I'm hearing I'm supposed to do. And then someday I wake up and it's just, It's all for naught.
That's not it, right?
Doing?
That's not it.
Right. And that to me rocks my world, because I want so much to just be on the correct path, doing
sure.
The gifts that I've been given were meant for, and
sure.
I always have feared like I'm gonna come up short, you know?
Yeah. Oh no, so, believe me, I get that one. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So let's real quick. Johnny said, when I was in my 20s, I was treed by a bear while hitchhiking through the Yellowstone. Afterwards, I have a huge fear of being eaten by a bear. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'd say so, my friend. That's a pretty big fear.
Yeah. Shout out to Janae. What have that dynamic duo?
There it is.
Saying preach, so true, so true.
Thank you, Janae. Yeah, thank you.
Oh yeah. You got any more long term?
I mean, outside of the being alone in the family, I don't know. I probably not. Those are the two biggest. I mean, I probably have to really dig deep to think about something else, I guess. But those are the two main ones, I think, as far as long term goes. Because again, it all kind of ties, like I said, ties into my health and all that, and being alone. And but yeah, I think that's it as far as that goes for long term. We got some other ones coming up that we're going to discuss. So yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get into that. We'll get more into that.
Yeah, definitely. Stay tuned for that. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break and we will be right back. I fear this.
Oh, man. Oh, wow.
Hey there, ladies and gents. Your local handyman, Anton Benton, here to help you with your problems. I'm here right now on the job site, taking out whole kitchen cabinets. A little bit more work to do, but if you got a project at your house that you need to get completed, I'm your guy to finish it up for you. Give me a call, let me know what you need to get done.
Your new company, man. Shout out to your new company. Go ahead and tell the world about your new company real quick.
Oh boy. So marketing, Anton Benton Pros.
Yes.
Doing everything from plumbing to electrical to making huge decks to doing closets.
Yes.
Doing it all.
That's what's up, man. I'm super happy
Thank
for
you guys. Thank you.
Welcome back to Truth Be Told. That is my guy, Anton Benton, one of the sponsors of this show. He is a handyman. He's a fix-it. He can fix most anything that you need him to fix. So definitely reach out to him. You'll see the number on the video, and I'll try to put that in the comments as well. So Nick, let's keep moving on the list. Yeah. We've hit some pretty personal things. Let's use a little levity. Let's like brighten it up just a little bit before we hit them with the major thing at the end. Yeah. We talked about every day. We talked about long term. Now let's talk about entertainment, movies, like TV shows, football, like sports, whatever. What is a major fear in that category?
Any movie with Gwyneth Paltrow. No, I yeah, for those who know me, not one of my favorite actresses, so that's a joke. There's the famous joke in Scream 2 where he says, "What's the worst movie you've ever seen?" Or what's it? And he says, "Showgirls, it's terrifying." What's the scariest movie you've ever seen? Showgirls, it's terrifying. So that's kind of in that vein of that joke. So that's why I said that. But as far as it's funny because a lot of people would probably gravitate toward like horror movies. But real quick, I feel like I was desensitized to horror movies at a very young age. Not young, but like, as a young preteen, teenager. Because, back in the day, we used to go to the video store and rent movies on the weekend, Mom and Heather and I, my sister and I, and we'd go rent the movies. And my mom would rent horror movies a lot. Just saying. Back in the day, for whatever reason, Mom rented a lot of horror movies. So I saw a lot of this stuff and I went, it's not real. It's, you know what I mean? Like, they're not really getting mauled like that. They're not getting slashed in half. It's a movie. Yeah. So I didn't have that same fear of like movie horror or anything like that. Like bothered me in that regard. Yeah, so I mean, I can watch a horror and just be like, okay, that's great. You know, and here's a pretty girl getting slashed up because she did something wrong or whatever. You know what I mean? Like whatever it is, doesn't faze me. That's not a fear. And it's funny you mentioned, I think, this like movie and entertainment, because like I'm really trying to think, like I don't think I honestly have one, and that sounds probably, you know, people fear, you know, you have fears for every kind of thing. But as far as movie and entertainment, I don't know that I actually have a fear. I pretty much, because again, as far as entertainment goes, and as far like we'll take movies specifically. I know there's movies based on true stories, but I don't take. I don't want to say that because I know people do, but I don't take movies that seriously. Okay. In that sense, movies are entertainment to me. When I go to a theater and pay my money, I just want to be entertained for the 2 hours.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to read too much. Like when I love critics' reviews about, well, this is this and that is that. And I'm like, okay, but did you enjoy just watching this movie? Or were you trying to purposely coming in there, obviously, with you're a critic, with that critical hat on and pinpointing every little thing that could have went wrong with the movie, or why the story wasn't this or that, or why this actor was terrible. And it's like, I don't go there for that. I go there simply to be entertained for the couple hours, eat some popcorn, drink my drink, and then I'm out of there. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, and as far as the entertainment realm as a whole, yeah, I mean, you know, I don't treat any of that like it's, I'm not in that world. So I think for me, I don't, not disassociation, but I don't watch TMZ. No. I don't read the scandal mags. I never did, like Star and all that. Like, whatever. It doesn't. I guess it doesn't affect my everyday life. I don't let it affect me in that way. I know that people that do, and that's totally fine. Do you? Not criticizing, but I think just for me, man, I don't. Yeah, it's entertainment. It's there for that purpose. Entertain me. You know, I don't care who's dating who or who broke up with who. Or why they're doing this or why they're doing that, or they went to the grocery store and bought, watermelons that day or whatever else, people like to report on as far as that goes. Like, it just doesn't, yeah. Not for me. So that's fine. But yeah, I don't really think I have a movie or entertainment fear. So I'll just leave it at that, I think, because I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Okay. Well, shout out to the people who are watching. Ayla said, hey, and Scott Thaler said, hey. Shout out to Scott. He, as far as entertainment, he said, I fear my cable goes out. Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go, guys.
I've had that.
Well, especially on Monday night because he watches The Bachelor and something about stars on Mars or something. So he's hooked on his Monday night show. So his cable goes out. He's got nothing to do, apparently.
Yeah. We know, we Scott, we know what you fear. You fear not getting a prize, man. But hey,
that's right. That's correct.
Honestly, for me, when it comes to movies, so I'm the opposite. I was never raised up on scary movies. I was never raised up on fear, which means movies like Gremlins and Chucky to me rocked my boat when I was younger. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But I was never into that. I was never in my thing, and the things, the movies, and actually were a greater fear to me, or that actually kind of rocked me more, was the historical movies. I'm a huge history guy, and I like reading about it, but sometimes the depictions and the pictures, things like that, kind of don't really sit well with me. Case in point, a lot of the stuff having to do with slavery, some of the real heinous stuff of like the civil rights movement, things like that. I don't want to sit here and say like I'm not watching, but like I've never watched Roots, and it's not that there's anything against it, but there are things about it that really kind of, that scares me more. And I think this is why I wanted to open up on what the word fear is, because it doesn't frighten me like, oh my goodness, I can't watch it like somebody's being beheaded. That thing is like, oh, you know what I mean? But I guess it gets desensitized after you watch it a couple times, Nick. But things like that, like Black history, certain parts of these moments, people getting lynched, burned, those type of fears are things that are more realistic. You know what I mean? So to your point,
for you, yes, absolutely.
But to your point about not having, it's stuff is all fiction essentially, with all the movies, the horror movies and everything like that, or less likely to occur. This stuff is not slavery, but some of the other heinous acts aren't that unlikely to occur. So, it is just unsettling. So I've never really been able to get. I love watching historical documentaries. I love diving into reenactments and all of those things. But there's a very ugly side to a lot of that stuff. And sometimes, people have a great portrayals of it in movies. And it's just unsettling. It's always been that way for me. So as far as entertainment and movies, things like that, that's been kind of like,
No. You know what? And that's, again, and that shows you, talk about two different people. I don't have to fear that. Yeah. In that sense, you know what I'm saying? And so when I watch, again, don't get me wrong, I watched Roots probably when it was on TV in the 70s. So I was a young man. I didn't get a lot of it, obviously. Everybody knows the famous, my name is Kunta Kinte, and that's all I can probably tell you from Roots. That's all I remember. Right. So there was a TV miniseries, and I saw Roots probably. I think my dad watched it, and that's where I remember seeing it at. But that stuff that unfortunately, but like that doesn't affect me because I don't have to live that experience that you do. Right. And again, believe me, I'm not in any way. I want to make this clear. That stuff was atrocious, and and I've seen a lot of the historical films as well. Like, you see stuff like Amistad. Coming over, well, one of my favorites, and I don't know if this would be a thing, but, watching Glory with the 1st Black Regiment in, like, that's one of my favorite films of all time. Like, it's just, like you said, the historical significance, but knowing that those guys, it had to be a definite fear for them because back then, Black people weren't allowed to do anything or weren't allowed to, there's a scene in the movie, I think, where the guy, he strikes the white woman, he's immediately killed because you're not supposed to touch, with regard, you're not supposed to hit a woman anyways. But my point is, you don't touch white people. You don't say anything to white people, and that's how that was back then. Yeah. And that's, that's a no-no. That was a no-no back then. And I think to live with that had to be horrible. And to know that somehow that still could exist in 2023 is just horrible to me.
Right. It's not to that extreme, obviously. No, it's definitely not to that extreme.
The prejudice and all that is still there, though. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's an unfortunate part of all that.
I think what it is for me more is that a lot of me, I have a very active imagination. I always did as a kid. So I was easy. I could definitely, I very easily had no problem being by myself, because I was able, So, but when I watch a lot of these movies, and not just, the Black History movies, but Revolutionary War, anything, I kind of, in order to really get into the movie, you put yourself in that situation. What would you do? Sure. How would you react?
How would you react?
Right. And those type of things to me are more of a fear, because Glory is another one where it's like, there's nothing in there that I'm afraid of.
Right. Correct.
But there is things that you sit there and you think about, and it's just like, whoo, man, thank goodness gracious, I was blessed to be born in the late 80s. Well, and you know what I mean? Yeah. And so that is kind of a weird fear. And you got a lot of these like noir movies or whatever. There was one called Antebellum with what's that girl? I can't think of her name, but she was with Janelle Monáe.
Oh, Janelle Monáe.
Yeah. And so she was essentially, it was like she was in our age, our time frame, and it was almost like one of those weird trippy movies where she went out with her friends and then she got drugged, and all of a sudden she got transported back to like the 1800s, the antebellum period, and her going through that.
I never saw that.
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't see it either, but it is not realistic. But at the same time, it's one of those things that plays. If you have an imagination, it plays with your mind. Like,
100%. Yeah.
So and again, and that's what I wanted. That's why I'm glad we did this topic in fear, because I think when everybody thinks fear, they think of the immediate things, getting eaten by a shark, or being a mass shooting or something like that, which are legitimate fears. But fear isn't just that. Yeah. Fear is also a lot of other things that are incorporated in it.
My mind went there first. I won't lie. So I did the same thing. So I totally get what you're saying there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Nick said, "You can't tell me that if you were in the water and something bumps you, you don't instantly hear the theme music for Jaws in your head." Yeah. I'm
gonna need a bigger boat.
Oh, absolutely. So, I mean, and again, that's kind of movie entertainment, just natural life. I mean, I guess in some way, shape, or form, as far as movies, entertainment, that type of stuff, you could add in, and this is kind of the way to just add in. We want to show our remorse and our condolences to the family of the 5 people that were lost in the Ocean Gate tragedy. Where they went down to see it, Titanic. And regardless of what your opinion is of it, it's still a loss of life, and it's still heartbreaking for those families to deal with. But in a sense, that whole sequence to me is a major fear of mine. Fear of mine. I am somebody that I need land under my feet, and part of that has to do with me not being the greatest swimmer, and not because I'm black, but just because I've always been. Go ahead,
never mind. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, you're trying to perpetrate the stereotype that black people don't swim. Is that what we're going with there? With
Look, I could be very honest. One of the fears I had when I was younger, especially when I'm coming of age, was going to pool parties, because I knew I wasn't the best swimmer. And that's even before I knew the whole thing. Once I was in high school and I started knowing the stereotype, that's when I was like, all right, I'm just gonna chill over here on the side. But if you watch, man, I don't go in the deep end to this day. I don't know. I don't jump off the diving board. Nothing.
Fair enough, bro.
So yeah. So, but hey, to that point, and I think this is gonna segue us into our last part, and the most important part, man. Major fears, your phobias, things that to this day will stop you in your tracks. I got a couple. I know you do too. Do you want to start, or?
Oh, sure, I can. And again, maybe it's because, like you said, Sean, as a child, or we're talking about watching a lot of movies as a child, I have a healthy fear of being buried alive.
Oh, yeah.
That is one that is huge for me. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to try to laugh about it or rock around it. I have a serious fear of being buried alive. Mm-hmm. That would scare the living daylights out of me if I was ever in a situation where I felt like I was in something like that where I couldn't get out of. Yep. I would die in a panic, because I would just lose my mind, as it were, if that happened to me. That Absolutely. Is the biggest one I have. You remember when we were, it's funny because I don't really hear about this anymore. I'm sure that it still exists. But when I was a kid, people always talked about quicksand.
Yeah.
Where if you remember quicksand, where it's supposed to be it's whatever it was. I assumed it was just a pit of some sort. But if you accidentally stepped in it, that's what would happen. You would sink down to the point where you couldn't get back up anymore because of the thickness of whatever it was.
And the more
you would basically be suffocated, right? Yeah. So you don't hear about that so much anymore, but as a kid, I was like, I never want to see quicksand. Yeah. I never want to see, I never want to go anywhere with quicksand. Because I think I've always had that fear of being buried alive. That's one that I've had throughout my life, and that one stays with me till this day.
Yep.
So that's definitely a major, major fear for me.
Yeah.
But go ahead. I'll let you go. Go ahead and give one of yours. Yeah.
So I'll piggyback with that to one of my major fears. Phobia is a huge, huge deal, and it has to do with drowning. You know, that's one of the reasons why I have a huge fear, or not huge fear, but I am kind of an awkward uncomfortableness with, swimming and certain things like that. When it's just like with the quicksand, there's nothing you can grab onto. There's nothing that you can secure yourself and pull yourself up, unless you're swimming or unless you're next to a wall. But I'm talking about like the ocean, like
I know what you mean.
Ocean and just completely there. But that is partly because I have a major fear or phobia, and it's of octopi and squids. So when I was younger, when I was like 5 years old, we went to the Baltimore Aquarium with my class. And, we went to all the different exhibits. And I had, one of my good friends in like kindergarten or first grade or something were in there, messing with we'd hit the glass and all the fish would go scatter. And that's so funny to us. And, we're hitting things and so nobody's being able to see any of the animals because they're all scurrying to go hide because we're bigger. So I was that punk kid. I was the kid that needed my butt beaten. I think I did later that evening because my dad was with me on that trip.
Okay.
So long story short, my dad reprimanded me at one point. Even the whoever the instructor or the tour guide, they were like, stop. You got to stop that. Like you can't do that. So we come up to the tank where it's the octopus, and so. I'm just at this point. I'm just chilling. The octopus, how they, they're kind of recluse. They kind of sit back in their thing. And at this point, it was a big tank, a big open water tank, and the octopus was sitting up at the top with just like one leg just dangling, right? And so I'm sitting here like, this ain't no fun. You're like, come on, man. Why? They're trying to tell us this stuff about the octopus. I'm like, I don't care about this. So I'm sitting here and looking. And so I get my hand and I'm trying to ride it up, and I go to, and when I go to hit it, the director or the guide or whatever says, raw, like yells, like really loud. The octopus inks and starts. In my mind, the octopus had just gotten out and he had just, and I'm done. Right. I booked it down the hall like I'm just just screaming, just running down the hall. My dad had to get me and run me out.
That's funny.
Have been deathly afraid. Now it's a lot better now. But when I was younger, anytime we got in any, like especially any fresh water, any little stuff that comes, nope, can't do it. But I would be so much, I would freeze up. Like I would, Dad's a huge James Bond fan. There's only one movie I can't see, Octa. The rest. So I can't see. Because at that ending scene when the octopus gets clamped on dudes, that's it for me. At just having an octopus come and suffocate you or no, can't do it.
No, hey, fair enough, brother. Fair enough. But that's you talk about the drowning thing, because I actually learned how to swim at a young age. I actually like to swim. I like the water, but I think as I got older, just because again, I don't swim as fast, I'm not speedy, and I'm uneven. I don't for that reason, like I don't go into beaches anymore. I don't swim in oceans. I'll swim in a pool. Like I'll do that. But that's about as far as Nick goes. I don't go jump off the rocks on Montrose Beach here in Chicago like I did when I was 20. You know what I mean? Like that's not happening anymore. So because again, you get caught in an undertow or something, like you've heard all kinds of stuff. Like you don't know what's out in the ocean or so I've kind of stopped doing that. I'll only if I go swimming in a pool, I'll stay in my lane. I'll do do my thing, and I'm good there. I don't need to tempt fate with anything else. Like I said, I got enough issues to worry about. I'm not trying to drown either. But I think one of the crazy ones too, and this is, and I don't know. It could be not so much environment, but just because you hear so much. And again, I live in Chicago, and we have had many incidents of gun violence here in the city. I mean, in every neighborhood. It's not just, people are, the bad side of town. No, people are getting shot everywhere. Yeah. It's not just a one neighborhood problem. It happens all over the city on a pretty much daily basis, especially now that it's summer, more people are out, more opportunities to do stuff like that. I do have a healthy fear of being shot, to be honest with you. Like, it's always, again, in the back of my mind when I go out, like, I do kind of look around and just see where I'm at, regardless of what neighborhood I'm in or where I'm at. Even, to be honest with you, like, I'm going to go take it a step further for you. Just to avoid kind of some trouble in spots here, I stopped taking the trains here in Chicago because they're no longer, they're unmanned. There's no woman or male conductors who walk through the trains anymore, or there's no security like they used to have. There's nothing. I mean, people can do whatever they want on a train. People are getting robbed all the time, or people get punched. People have been shot on the train, robbed. And it's just, like I said, I got enough things to worry about. Yep. I don't want to worry about I'm going just somewhere to meet someone on a train and something happens. So, the being shot thing is a big thing. Oh, yeah. In that sense, I think and it probably come on a little bit more in the last 5 years or so because of all the things that have happened here in Chicago. So I'm trying to be weary of that as well. Because again, I've never been shot. I know people who have been, and I know it's not a pleasant thing. Wherever you're hit, doesn't matter where you're. And to think that it can be fatal is just one of those things that, yeah, I do have a fear of being shot as well. That's a big one as well, with the being buried alive. So those are probably the two biggest fears that I have right now. But yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, and actually to piggyback on that one, I think Kat's in the comments, so I know she's listening. Honestly, one of my biggest fears, and this is not my last one, but this is something I just thought about when you were talking. One of my biggest fears is being in a stampede, or like getting trampled, or like,
so don't run with the bulls insane.
Well, yeah, no, but even more, like, I hate being in major events. People are very crowded, all in the one thing. Like, I just have it. Like, I'm always aware of where my exits are. Always aware of, okay, how am I getting out of here if something happens? Where am I going? It's just one of those things, because when situations like that happen, people don't. Common sense and rationality all go out the window. They just exit. Got to get away. It does it, and it's me and mine over anything else. So
100%. Yes.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's unfortunate. It's not one of these things that it's like, oh, I'm handicapped to ever go. Like, I'm never going to go. No, I still go to games. I still go to concerts. Not as much as not as much as Kat would like, but it is what it is. Right. But that is definitely something of mine that I even put that on her, where I'm like, look, wherever you go, make sure you know where the exits are. Make sure you're on the outskirts of the crowd, closest to wherever you can get to where you need to be, because once that hits the fan, I hate that. That's just and that's that is a healthy fear. Like, big festivals, like, there's a ton of people, and if something goes, like, we had a situation here years ago. The E2 nightclub tragedy. For those of you who were in Chicago, you may have heard of it. I think it even made some national news. But people, I forgot if it was a fire or something. Something happened where everybody starts rushing the exit, but the exits were locked because they had locked everyone in for this event or whatever. And so people are going down this staircase, and over 20 people died. Because people were trampled, people were stomped on, because people are trying to get out. And that's whatever. Like I said, the panic sets in. I'm going to save myself. I need to do this. Forget it. You're just stepping on people. You're running over people. And that kind of thing, man, that's scary in and of itself. Like, that just kind of thing will just, that's crazy. So I feel that one. It's not something that I don't go to those things. And same here.
Just not my bag. Like, I don't do Lollapalooza or Riot Fest or any of that stuff. So I do like, in that sense, I guess, try to avoid larger crowds that are like outdoors in a park or something like that, where you got thousands and thousands. I mean, again, I work at a baseball stadium, but like you said, I have an easy way out. I'm in a room underneath the Rams. So if I need to get out, I'm getting out. Like, I'm not worried too much about that. You know, there's 40,000 people there, but they're not trampling me. I know where I'm going, and I'm getting out real quick. So that doesn't. I don't think about it in
throwing
that
those
term.
elbows and everything.
Right. Like same with Soldier Field. I know where the exit is.
Right.
And if it breaks loose, I know where I'm going, and I know how to get out. So yeah, and I'm with you on that one. Know your exits. Know how to get out. That's for sure. That is for sure.
Johnny said height and claustrophobia. So
yeah.
I get that. So my last one, and that the one with the phobia of octopus and squid is just something that's rocked me most of my life. But my main one, and actually one of the main reasons why I really started to try to branch out and do more with LTF and Let's Talk Football, and even having shows like this. And it happened during the pandemic when we all got close and got together. My main fear is everything that goes on in my head. I have a very big imagination, and it also kind of goes dark at times, which I'm sure happens to other people. But I have a weird view of how people view me. One of the main reasons I had never done this type of thing outside of me and Janae is because I was very afraid of people's response to what I did, what I said. I'm afraid of being just ridiculed and knocked down the whole nine. And my biggest fear is that all the negative things that I feel people think about me.
Yeah.
My fear is that they do, that it's true, that it's.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, that and that makes it very hard for me to trust people. Because at the end of the day, even the closest people, sometimes in my head, I'm just like, they ain't really with it. They're not really for you, man. They're they're using you. And part of that is because as when I was growing up, my dad always said everybody has an MO. Everybody's got a motive. Everybody's got something that they're doing. They have a reason for it. And as you grow, you start to realize that. And it's not always because I'm trying to get over on you. It's just that there might have been a situation that presented itself that could help me, and you just happen to be the catalyst to get A to B. So it's one of those situations where it's always I'm in my head and I think crazy thoughts. Like first and foremost how much I watch all the shows over and how harshly I criticize myself. It's because I always have that fear that the things that I'm thinking and the things that I feel other people are thinking is true.
Are true,
and it's all coming. You know what I mean? So even with this is a huge step, I think, for both of us because of the fact that, I'm learning stuff about you and vice versa that I don't think we knew before. We've
never talked about any of this. Right. Don't think we pre-planned this, folks. We didn't know what the other one was going to say. We just threw out the topic and we were going to talk. So this is not. This is like you said, and it's that to reiterate, truth be told is exactly that. That's why Sean and I are doing this.
Yeah,
we want to start a conversation. Wherever that conversation goes, it goes. And if that can help someone, whether they're watching or commenting or whatever, then hey, that's great.
Right.
And it even it helps Sean and I because again, to talk things out sometimes really helps. And to be able to do that, and yes, we're choosing to do it publicly here, in that sense. Again, this is only our 4th episode, but I think the biggest thing Sean and I wanted to take away from this was just getting, and men specifically, but again, this show is for everyone. This is not just for men, but to get men talking, like to share our fears, thoughts, whatever our anxieties, the things that men are taught to not always do.
Right.
Because men are taught, you got to be tough, you got to be strong, you got to be a man. You can't do this, you can't do that. Don't let them see you cry, blah, 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 blah. All that. And, as a kid, it's not so much that my dad was that way. I mean, he tried a couple things. He tried some tough love with me on a couple of things. But I think it's just more society at that time when I was growing up was, hey, man, you got to be a man.
Yep.
Like, you got to, buck up, son. Especially, and again, especially in the Latino culture. I mean, I being a Spanish man and you see some of these guys and, hey, bro, blah, 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 blah. Man, no, you can't be like that, bro. You can't let nobody step to you like that, man. You got to, you grow up with that, you're like, what in the hell is going on here? Like
Same in my community, you know that.
Yeah, no, and as I said, I mean, I can't speak to the black experience so much, but for me, growing up the way I grew up, with just some of the people around me and some of the things that were happening at the time, buck up, young man. You got to be a man, and that's it. And that was the overriding thing or theme in that sense. So yeah, it's a lot of that had to go through a lot of things again. Sorry, I lost my train there for a moment, but like I said, just one of those things that you deal with, and again, so talking about everything and being able to share this stuff has been very helpful to me over the last 4 weeks, honestly.
Right.
So again, if anyone ever wants to talk or needs somebody to listen, hey man, I'll tell you right now, I'm always here. Hit me up. Everybody knows how to get in touch with me. I'm around. Like for sure. For real. No questions asked. Just hey, hit me up. I'm good.
All right. Johnny Dean said, caution. Just getting back to some of these comments. He said, cautionary stories are important historical events that do actually impact how we see the world. That's how I see Glory and Roots and 100 other films that have had huge impacts on my life. The Tuskegee Airmen. Johnny said slasher films were originally based off serial killers like Ed Gein. Yeah, Ed Gein, Nick said, if you ever go on a train again, tell the people who try to mess with you, don't F with the babysitter.
The vet is a babysitter, right? Absolutely. Who said that?
Ben Cornett.
Ben, that's funny. It's a good one, Ben. That's a good one.
Kat said, that's why I always sit farther away when we go to concerts. Sean's made me think of things. Johnny was at a Led Zeppelin concert in Tampa, and he said it's a good fear to have because it can happen, man. Yeah. Johnny said, after 6 decades of living, sometimes very ignorantly, fear becomes replaced with common sense or just the sense you get from life. You can call them fears, but most part you learn what to avoid in order to limit the odds. Absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
Oh no, you can. That's why I say I don't go to big festivals. I don't swim in the ocean anymore or beaches. You know what I mean? Yeah, because you do as you get older, you learn to be like, well, I could probably avoid some of this if I do this.
Yeah.
And so that comes with experience and learning and getting older a little bit. Or like I said, your common sense is a little bit more, and you go, well, hey, I can help myself here if I don't do this.
Right.
So I'm 100% with you on that one, Johnny.
Yeah.
Good point.
Absolutely. Kat, fear of cancer and fear of losing those you love. Yep.
Sure. Always. Well, that's always a fear, right? I think that's for everyone. Unfortunately, that's just something we definitely deal with. Truth be told, baby. Truth be told.
Oh, yeah. This is first time. Yep. Absolutely. So look, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to let you go again. This has been Truth Be Told. Fears, what are you afraid of? We appreciate you guys all hopping in the comments. Kat, Johnny, Scott, Ayla was in here. Ben was in here. All of you. Janae hopped in for a little bit. Andrew. Speaking of, check out, ladies and gentlemen, it just started right now. North Sports Dynasty will be on tonight. I don't know if it's permanently on Mondays, but if it is, you can catch them right after our show. It was a show that used to come on Friday nights. So it just started. So definitely tune into that. It's Andrew Faubert, Alex Loosemore, Chris Warchak, and Sydney Swinton, and Ash sometimes makes appearances and does stuff like that. So tune in. They got good stuff going on. I believe they have prizes. They got a good show going, so definitely tune in.
Well, Scott Taylor will be happy. They got prizes. There you go.
Yes, Scott, there's your shot, buddy. If the Bachelorette is off, so
that's right.
So we appreciate you guys being here with us. This has been Truth Be Told. We gave you a little bit of our fears. Definitely still keep in the comments some of the things that you guys fear and what you guys going on. But we're gonna be with you guys next week, same time, same place. I'll let you know during the week what we're going to be talking about. I know some people brought up respect as one of the potential topics. Maybe we'll mull that over, but we'll let you guys know during the week, and we'll be back with a little bit of that good stuff, man. So for this guy right here.
And for that guy right there, well, where is he? There he is. There he is. I'll get it right. The reverse. There you go. He's over there. There you go.
On the other side.
On the other side. There he is. Okay.
We will be with you next time. Are you any roundtable anytime soon? Do you know?
We're working on it. Obviously, again, a busy schedule right now. Tuesday, next Tuesday's 4th of July.
No.
And then the Tuesdays, just in general, in July aren't real great with my work schedule. But you will see us again. I promise. The roundtable will be back. I know Tina's on a vacation, or going to be on a vacation. So yeah, we're getting there. You'll see us again.
Oh, yeah.
The roundtable will live. I promise you.
And Diversity with Delilah, I believe, will be tomorrow. I think she said she's going to record it today, and she's going to do it tomorrow. So stay tuned for
Check that out as well.
Yeah, you're not going to want to miss it. Johnny said, "Love you guys as always. Awesome show."
Thank you, Johnny. Thank you for always paying attention and watching, my friend. We love it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And Kat said, "Thanks, guys. Great show."
Thank you, Catherine. Yes.
Hey, we will see you next time. Wanted to say happy Pride Month. I know they had the Pride Parade in Chicago.
Yesterday here in Chicago yesterday, yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they had it in Arlington, Virginia around here. So, happy Pride Month, and hope you all celebrate and get it in. But hey, for my guy Nick, me, Sean Spencer, we'll see y'all next time. Peace.
Have a good one.
Absolutely. I will talk about anything. Let's do this.